finished cutting both plywood sides, 3'2" by 19 inches. I then ganged them up and brad nailed them along the very outer edge where it will eventually slant. And so this way I can do a drawing just on this one face, cut out all the components, route out the templates, and then finally cut off the slanted portions, which will cut the nails off, and we'll have two sides exactly matching up. I've transferred the design onto the workpiece with a pencil, so I know where everything is laid out, so I can start making cuts. I finished cutting out all the internal parts on the two sides, as you can see here. To do that, I used the Festool circular saw with a straight edge to do the major straight parts here, and then a jigsaw to get pretty close to my layout lines to cut out the pieces, and then finally finished up with the router and my templates to get exactly the shape that I wanted. Finally, I took the circular saw and cut off the two edges where we had them ganged up to separate the two pieces and create the slanted edge there. A couple of notes as I've gone through the construction of these sides. One is that I got pretty significant chip outs in the plywood, mostly from my jigsaw. I could have done a better job pre-scoring the lines, but I was getting this job done really quickly, and I think it looks pretty good overall. I might flip these around where they were ganged up. There's basically no chip out, so I might make that the outer edges, so you won't see any chip out on the inside. Another thing is that you can see here, I had a little oopsie with the router and went a little too deep right in here. I ended up just making it part of the design and going from both sides and making it a flat edge, so it was kind of a double lift there, and I think that looks great. After finishing these sides, I went ahead and cut the rest of our components. I've got the lower leg pieces, the small leg pieces that go the other direction, and then our side pieces, both the upper and the lower, that connect the two sides together. At this point, the next step is I'm going to round over all the edges with my router and sand all the components and then start assembling. I finished the routing on all the pieces to round over all the edges. I used a 1/4 inch round over bit from both sides to get a nice smooth top. You can see I did get significant burning, so I will be finishing up with hand sanding to remove that and to get a nice smooth finish. I sanded all the parts up to 220, all the faces and the edges. Went through a couple of grits to get there. I got out a significant part of the burning out of all these interior pieces, but I didn't get all of it out. I'm not concerned about that because I'm going to be using a black gel stain to finish this, so I don't think you're going to notice that burning. Next time, if I was to do this project again, I'd probably consider painting this. Getting in there to sand out all these little parts is pretty time consuming, but I think with the black gel stain, that'll look really nice. The next step I'm going to do is to assemble everything using these RTA connectors, and I'm just going to use butt joints for the plywood. Just butt them up, drill, and screw them together. So I'm put everything together and make sure it fits really nicely, and then I have to make the platform that can go up and down. These are the hardwood rails that will sit under a plywood platform, and I just need to shape the ends to fit into the shape here. So assembly, and then put together the platform, then I'll take the whole thing back apart, finish it, and we'll be done. There's only 2 days to Christmas, but I'm almost done. I went through and did the pre-assembly. There are 2 top rails and 2 bottom rails that connect the 2 sides. And I put in 1 screw each, and then I aligned them exactly the way I wanted and drilled for the 2nd screw. Then took everything back apart and did a final sanding where I had drilled through some of those holes, and I got ready for the finish work. So I laid out all my pieces and started with seal coat shellac, and put that on all the surfaces and waited for that to dry and buffed it out a little bit. And then I applied my black gel stain. I think that went on pretty well. Let it sit about 5 minutes and then wiped it off and buffed it out. And I think it looks good. You can definitely see the wood grain coming through, but it gives it a nice, even black espresso coat that I think will look pretty nice in the room. Now I'm applying a top coat, which is polyacrylic. I've brushed on one coat. I'll wait for that to dry, lightly sand it, and brush on a second coat, probably just on the flat surfaces, and not worry about all these interior parts as much. A little assembly, and we're done. The kitchen tower is fully assembled and complete, and I'm very excited about the way that it turned out. The final product here looks just like those original SketchUp designs, and it's really cool to see this come from those original designs all the way through to the finished product here. I really like the way the black stain turned out on this. You can still see the wood grain coming through, and it looks especially nice on the edges of the plywood. You can see those different plies. It soaked it up at different rates, and so you can see the striping of those different plies on the end grain. I think that looks pretty cool. If I was to do this again, I might choose a Baltic birch instead of this, which is just a regular 3/4 plywood. There are a couple of voids, and I think the Baltic birch might look just that much better. I know my son is really going to enjoy this. He can finally be up at the countertop with us to see and interact with everything going on. And it will grow with him for the next few years with this adjustable platform. If you have any questions or comments about this project, I would love to hear from you, so please leave me a message. And if you have something like this or want to do something like this, I'd love to see that too.